In this video, I'm going to give you my review of the Solinco Blackout 300 gram. Now, first thing first, gotta say, never really been much of a power racket guy. I did start with one. I started with the Ultra 100 as a freshman in high school as my first adult racket that was my own. And then I kind of moved on and continued to grow as a player. I did move eventually more to the control-oriented racket sides, typically smaller head sizes or 100 square inch head sizes with an 18 by 20 string pattern. But trying the Solinco Blackout 300 gram, I was greatly impressed. So, let me get into why. First thing first, as you can probably guess, is that with this being more of a power racket, the Solinco Blackout 100, not 100, 300, it has a 100 head size. I said those backwards. Ta-da. Anyway, the 100 head size, very common with power rackets. This is going to be more helpful with spin, more helpful with power. It's just going to be there so that way it is more forgiving for you as the player rather than having a much smaller sweet spot to where if you hit outside of it, you're in for a world of pain. Not fun. Now, along with this 100 square inch head size, you do have the 16 by 19 string pattern in this racket. Again, pretty common setup between these two. You got the two most standard head size and string pattern in most rackets today. So the Blackout, very easy help with power, very easy help with spin, very easy just racket to play with overall, as well as since it does come in one smaller weight being the 285 rather than the 300 gram. But we'll get into that here right now. So with the unstrung weight, you're usually looking about 10.6 ounces for those of us who don't understand or work in grams, which on the racket it says 300 grams, hence the name 300. Then you move into about 11.2 ounces to about 315 to around 318 grams once the string is added inside of it. Yeah, you typically add about 0.6 ounces when you add the string. It's just kind of how it goes. Now, it can change depending on what string you put in, but overall, general rule of thumb, go with that. So, with that being said, this racket is going to be a little bit more towards the heavier side. This is typically seen as the standard weight for a fully grown male player when they're actually using this. So if you think this racket is a little bit too heavy, then you may as well try out the Solinco Blackout 285. Going to be a little bit lighter, but pretty much the exact same thing. So that way you can just see if this racket even works for you at the weight that you may like or may prefer over the 300 gram. And then this part right here, this is where usually most power rackets do start to get taken down a notch for most people. And it's the fact that this has a stiffness rating of about 70 when you usually look at them. So why is this number important? This number, this 70 right here, this is important because the stiffness rating is a very big factor in letting people know how hard these rackets are going to be on their arm. So if you've ever had problems with tennis elbow, you ever had wrist injuries, shoulder surgeries, or you don't want to inflame or inflare anything on whichever side is your dominant side, then this is a very important number to pay attention to. With that, though, the Solinco Blackout does something pretty cool to try and help get rid of some of that vibration and shock before it gets back to you. And that is the fact that the racket has foam inside of it. Now, this foam is going to help just decrease some of that vibration, some of that shock. Like I said, before it gets back into you, it's going to absorb more of the impact and keep that keep that in the racket before it gets to you and causes any issues. It's not going to protect all of it, and it's not going to make this thing the most easy on the arm racket, but it is going to help compared to other power rackets that are out there that are this stiff, say like with the Babolat Pure Drive, the Wilson Ultra, some would say the Yonex E-Zone, or even the Dunlop FX 500. Yeah, 500 is the normal one. So this is where the Solinco Blackout starts to differentiate itself besides just playing, which we're about to head on court, and I'll talk to you more about how it felt to play with. Cool. So now that we got the Solinco Blackout 300 gram out on court, first thing you're going to see, especially right here, is that this thing is a rocket launcher. There is so much power in this racket, and that is partially due to that stiffness rating like I was talking about being at 70 or right around there. And because of that, I do have a polyester string in this racket right now, but what I went with was Luxilon Element Soft IR, just to try and make it a little bit easier on me. However, I still felt a little bit of vibration getting back to me every so often, so I may have needed to go to a thinner gauge or lower my tension, but the foam inside the racket, as well as the combination of the Luxilon string, it did make the racket still feel playable. The racket was extremely stable, especially on those off-centered shots, trying to just get the ball back over the net as I'm just kind of like, I'll say, I don't even know, just trying to really stabilize it and just trying to drive winners, get a little bit of good spin, not as much spin as some other rackets, but still good enough to get the job done. So we're back from the court, and now it's just going to be one final thought about the Solinco Blackout before we head off today. And that is going to be that the Solinco Blackout overall is going to be, in my opinion, a great racket for people to get going with, to get started into tennis with. Whether you get the 300 gram, whether you try the 285 gram, I would say if you're starting out, maybe don't go for the extended length, just because it's going to like change your timing and your positioning, and then extended length is a whole different topic. But with the regular versions, they're great all-around rackets to get you going, get you playing even better, get you learning, as well as evolving with you as you continue to grow as a tennis player. You can change the string to your level. You can adjust things here and there. I know Solinco does make weighted butt caps that you can also get. So you pop this one out, you put the weighted one on if you feel like that's what you want to do. You don't have to. It's just an option. Don't have to do it. But the big thing is, if you've never hit with the Solinco Blackout before, do not, please do not buy this thing outright and just go ahead and start swinging it because of this right here. This, if you just buy it, just from my experience of working with people that have actually played with this racket or just have played with rackets that are similar in terms of how stiff they are, if you just buy it and it ends up hurting you, you're going to be out however much you spent on the racket. And we don't want that to happen. That's not cool. That's not fun. So if you have the ability to, please demo this racket first, because it is going to let you know if it'll actually work for your game, if it actually works for your body, and whether or not it's actually going to cause you those arm issues that would be very problematic if you got. Now, down in the description or a pinned comment down below, there's going to be a link to the Solinco Blackout on a tennis retail store's website. This is where I get all of my tennis stuff, as well as where I demo almost all of the rackets that I choose a demo out of. So it is going to be an affiliate link. I'm being very upfront about it. And if you do end up purchasing the Solinco Blackout from that, it does give me a little bit of a small commission and a little bit of a kickback, just so that way we can help grow this channel and just get a lot better, a lot bigger, and we can get the information out there from the people that have it to the people that need it. So down below, in that link, it will also show you that this racket is available to demo, and you can choose up to 3 other rackets to demo with it as well. Well, let me rephrase that. You can choose up to 3 rackets at once to demo, and so if you choose the Blackout to go with, you can choose up to 2 more to try out, and they will ship it to you. You ship it back. Great program. I highly recommend it, especially trying this out if you never have before. So that being said, if you like the video, leave a like on it. Comment down below any questions you have about the Solinco Blackout 300 gram, or if you've used the Solinco Blackout 300 gram, I'd love to know what you're thinking, what you've thought about it, what you've seen with it, as well as just subscribe to the channel so we can grow this channel and, as I said, get the information out there from the people that have it to the people that need it, as well as so that way we can just enjoy the game of tennis that we all love so much more without having to worry about injury from our gear. So, with that being said, as always, take care.